that maybe half of what I have there, I'll probably just take them out because she's basically giving you guys a refresher course on IP rights. But I'll still try and touch them and give a little twist to it. So first of all, I'm supposed to speak on leveraging technology and intellectual property rights for the protection of creativity in the digital age. And I want us to understand that when we say creativity, we are not necessarily only talking about people who do what we consider as creative, people that act or write scripts. Creativity goes beyond that. And that's what IP actually does. It protects anything that you create, that goes beyond just what you may consider as crafts. So even technology is a form of creation, right? And so IP protects your technology as well, which is what we'll be looking at here. So first slide, please. Just to give you a brief, first slide, a brief overview of what ALEX is and we are. We're a firm, yes, somebody had said that we're in Lagos, we're in Port Harcourt, we're in Abuja. We're also in Ghana as well. We're a full service law firm. What full service means is that we do something and we do everything. So we know something about everything and everything about something. We're a firm of legal practitioners. We have, when I say full service, so we do everything, but everybody doesn't do everything. So I don't do a couple of other things that some of my other colleagues do. And so we try to specialize in different areas of law so that we'll be able to be attractive to every single client who comes our way. So if somebody needs labor and employment advisory, if somebody needs advice on tax, litigation, arbitration, mediation, oil and gas, we'll have somebody within the firm who will be able to advise them. And it's something that we should also be thinking about, which I'm sure that we pretty much are. Because when I was in university, we wanted to do everything anyway. But we realized for you to be able to become an expert, you need to specialize. And that's what we are, a firm of specialists. Yeah. So, next slide, please. I'll just go straight into this. So what is intellectual property? There are different definitions of it. But if you look at what I took from WIPO, it's a unique value-added creation of the human intellect that results from human ingenuity, creativity, and inventiveness. So, there are a couple of words there, but you can just take this out of it, that there has to be something unique about the offering that you have. If you're basically ripping off what somebody else has done, then you wouldn't be able to get much traction out of that. And when the moderator was speaking earlier, I had a couple of people asking different questions like, oh, I have a, I think I heard somebody say something about, I have a baking recipe or something like that, right? How can I protect it? And somebody said, how can I protect my speaking? Maybe like I have a gift of speaking. And I think some, so there are some things really that you cannot protect because you're not even capable of being protected. Right? But then there are some others that you can still find a way around it to protect, even though they may not fall under the major IP rights, or there may be no statute that will protect them. So next slide, please. Look, what I've done here, which Precious had already done so graciously, was to list out the different IP rights that we have. And in Nigeria, there are 4 major ones that we have, but then we also have trade secrets too, which are very important. Now, trade secrets are not protected by legislation. So there are a couple of ways you could probably go about protecting them, and I'll be speaking on that. Next slide, please. So look at trademark first, which for a country like Nigeria is probably the most prominent IP right, and I'll explain why that is. So it is what you use to protect brands. So when you think of brands, think of your different, products. Like Precious had said, Alex is a brand in itself. So that trademark, once you see, then you know, okay, this protects goods or services. So depending on what person is offering, if person is providing a service, if you see a company like KPMG, you will see their logo. Once you see that, then that's you already know that whatever you're going there to do belongs to KPMG. And there are a lot of ways in which you can monetize your trademark. It's very important. if you go to McDonald's, or we don't have McDonald's in Nigeria. If you go to KFC, right, or ShopRite, now when you enter a KFC store, the presumption that you have is that whatever you are eating in KFC is the same thing that the guy in America is eating. Am I correct? Yeah. At least that's what you think now. Now, that's what they call franchising, which is basically licensing your trademark along with your trade secrets and your know-how. And so the value that is placed on that trademark alone could be so much, because the person who has the rights to the KFC franchise in Nigeria probably have to pay millions of dollars to be able to do that. If there was no value in his trademark, he wouldn't be able to do that. But then it doesn't mean that you will now run out and now start trying to create products and now be putting your logo on it and say, okay, this logo will grow and then one day I'll be able to license it. There has to be a value that is attached to it. Next slide. And what I did here was I put examples of familiar trademarks that we may see along the way. Next slide, please. Next slide. Because Precious had already said most of these things. There's no need for me to say. What I just did here was I put 5 of the most valuable trademarks in the world. There's no Nigerian trademark there because we don't have any mark that is valuable. But if you notice that most of, sorry, which one? Your own? Or is it Dangote that you want to see? No, so, well, I don't know the value behind Dangote's mark, to be honest. But I guess there's some value anyway. Now, somebody has asked Precious a question, and I wanted to just provide an overlay on that. Because the person said, when I sell a company, do I also sell my Instagram and Twitter and all of that? Well, so that's basically a contractual thing. Because you can sell your company without selling those other things that go along with it. But it depends on what the person is buying. And why I'm saying this is because if you go and you say that you want to buy IBM, the value of IBM alone will be different from the value of its trademark. And IBM may say, okay, you know what, I will sell the business to you, but I will still retain my trademark. Now, with the trademark that Vodafone, Google have, Google can go to a bank and say, you know what, I want to take a loan of $200 million. And what I will give you as collateral will be the rights to the Google trademark. And based on that, just based on paper that shows that somebody has a trademark to something, the bank will give Google $200 million. So that's to show you the value that is behind it. But you see, because there is a product or there is a service that has been protected in itself. There is a service that exists that the trademark identifies with. That is why that trademark is valuable in the first place. So if the service or the product wasn't that valuable, it wouldn't translate to the trademark. But then it is now very clear that having your trademark, that once anybody sees it, they will know, this is who this person is, or this is what this person does. Then they immediately identify with it. That's where the value comes from. So now I'm sure that everybody, regardless of whether you are a lawyer or an engineer, you now know what a trademark is. Is there anybody who is still ignorant of what a trademark is? We're all clear, right? At least with Precious's introduction. And then mine. So next slide. And then we move to copyright. And there are different rights that can be protected under copyright, which are listed there. Then, which reminds me, somebody said, how can he protect his sports or something like that? So, or something like that, right? Somebody said maybe he's a newscaster or sports something. Now, some of these things can still come under copyright, which is broadcast rights anyway. And that basically allows, if a station is going to show maybe the World Cup or something like that, they can actually license TV stations to show the World Cup, and then they get a lot of money out of it. Next slide, please. Next slide. Precious did a good job. Just next slide. But you get the picture, right? So designs basically deals with the ornamental description or the design of certain products. And in understanding design, it's good for those in the engineering field and also who are architects, because you're able to create something that is unique. And when anybody sees that look or that feel or that get-up, they will know that this design belongs to this particular product. So, for instance, does anybody know this, what popular used to call it now, that they use in the restroom, Harpic? You know, there's a particular look that Harpic has, like a swan, somebody has a curved neck. So once you just see that, even if Harpic is not written on it, then you'll be able to know this is Harpic. I had a particular client who has a design for its detergent, and then another person was doing comparative advertising on TV, and now used that particular design, even though there was no name that was written on it, but the person used that peculiar design for that detergent and was now comparing that. I put this detergent and my clothes didn't come out white. I now put this other detergent and my clothes came out white. You know, we had to actually sue that other company because it was our belief that our client had created a level of goodwill. It's designed so that if anybody sees that design, even though there's no name written on it, it has already registered in the mind of that person that this design goes with this product.